Last month, the vetting of their former Chief of Defense Forces was deferred by the Appointments Committee. This drew the attention of the appointing authority, who then sought audience with the vetting committee. But after a second meeting between the appointing authority and the Appointments Committee of Parliament over the weekend, Aronda Nyakairima's fate was left to the Speaker and the Attorney General. However, sources that we talked to say members of the committee convened yet another meeting.
From what transpired, they are going to meet on Monday, as I've already communicated, and the committee will make appropriate decisions, because the decision is really up to the committee.
It is emerging that some of the members of the Appointments Committee have now agreed to approve General Aronda Nyakairima's appointment without him resigning from the army. However, some members of the committee have disagreed with this position and have threatened to block this appointment.
All I expect from the general is to come with a discharge certificate from the army and a resignation with approval from Parliament.
Under Article 208, Clause 2 of the Constitution of Uganda prohibits army officers from engaging in partisan politics. Now, the Attorney General also recently said General Aronda Nyakairima can assume the responsibility of working as a Minister of Internal Affairs without necessarily resigning from the army. The Attorney General's assertion is based on the fact that 10 serving soldiers represent the UPDF in Parliament. He argues that because they are MPs, they can also be elevated to ministerial positions. Now, in reaction to Attorney General's comment, legal analyst Ladislas Rakafuzi argues that Attorney General's position is unconstitutional.
Of course, the Attorney General is giving skewed opinions because he's a political appointee. We have always wanted an Attorney General who is a public servant who will give dispassionate advice to government.
The Deputy Speaker Jacob Olanya backs the Attorney General and insists that the former CDF does not have to resign. He adds that the UPDF Act does not define in detail such an officer desiring or seeking for an elective office. He also admits that there are gaps in the law that need interpretation in the Constitutional Court.
If he is a Deputy Speaker, he's aware of how this committee works. Even if you chair this committee, you do not make or take decisions on behalf of members.
Rakafuzi says the appointment of Aronda as a minister and his stay in the UPDF is in the interest of the appointing authority.
President Museveni fears that if he releases Aronda to Mukunde and several others, they could turn out to be his formidable political opponents, and that's why he's keeping them there. Otherwise, the truth of the matter is that the Constitution did not envisage serving military officers or serving civil servants or serving public servants.
General Nyakairima, who has maintained his silence over this matter, was in May appointed Internal Affairs Minister in a reshuffle that saw General Katumba Wamala replace him as Chief of Defense Forces. However, his approval has turned controversial, with Parliament insisting he is not to get the nod unless he leaves the army. The appointment of Lieutenant General J.J. Odongo as a Minister of State for Defense in 2010 drew similar reactions until he was retired from the army. This seems to have been set as a precedent by the 8th Parliament that later approved his appointment. Maurice Ochol, NTV.